I was humiliated in front of 30 relatives with a crumpled $2 lottery ticket, while my sister got a $13,000 luxury cruise. Everyone laughed. What none of them knew was that before this was over, that tiny piece of paper would expose betrayal, destroy a carefully hidden family secret, and turn their entire world upside down. And the most shocking part? Winning the money wasn't even the real revenge. My name is Audrey Crawford. I'm 32 years old. 2 months ago, on Thanksgiving night in front of 30 relatives, my parents handed my sister a $13,000 cruise package and gave me a crumpled $2 lottery ticket with a mocking smile. "This is all that's appropriate for your situation, Audrey," my mother said. Her voice carried across the entire dining room. Everyone heard it, and they laughed. All of them. What they didn't know is that little ticket would change absolutely everything. But not in the way you'd expect. Before I get into this, if you find this story compelling, take a moment to like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I always love knowing where my listeners are tuning in from around the world. Now let me take you back to that Thanksgiving night. The night everything started falling apart. The Crawford family Thanksgiving was always a production. Not the warm kind. More like a stage where everyone performed their assigned roles. I pulled into my parents' driveway at exactly 5 o'clock, carrying a homemade autumn salad and a bouquet of dahlias I'd grown myself. Deep burgundy, perfect for the season. 3 months of nurturing those flowers. My mother opened the door before I could knock. "Oh, Audrey." Her eyes flicked to the bouquet, then away. "Still playing with plants, I see." Behind her, squealing, Vivian had arrived. Mom rushed past me, arms wide open. "There's my girl. That dress is stunning. Is it new?" I stood in the doorway holding my flowers, watching my mother embrace my sister like she hadn't seen her in years. It had been 2 weeks. Inside, the house buzzed with relatives. Dad sat in his leather recliner, deep in conversation with Marcus, my brother-in-law. He didn't get up when I walked in. Just a nod, barely a glance. "Audrey, good, you're here," Dad said without looking away from Marcus. "We need help setting the table." "Of course." "I was here to work." Marcus held court in the living room, describing his latest real estate consulting deal. Everyone leaned in, captivated. I knew better. Marcus was slippery. No proof, just instinct. Later, while I arranged napkins alone in the dining room, Mom introduced me to a distant cousin. "This is Audrey, my younger daughter. She does gardening, something with plants. Landscape architecture, Mom. I design green spaces for corporate buildings." She waved her hand. "Same thing, dear." I kept folding. Some battles are worth fighting, not yet. I was refilling the water pitcher when I heard them through the kitchen door. Mom, Dad, Vivian. That hushed tone families use when they think nobody's listening. "The cruise leaves December 15th, Mom was saying. 2 weeks in the Caribbean. You, Marcus, the kids, your father and me, even Grandma Grace if she's feeling well enough." My hand froze on the pitcher. "What about Audrey?" Vivian asked. Not concerned, just acknowledging I existed. Silence. Then Dad cleared his throat. "She's busy with work. Besides, a trip like this is expensive. We don't want to burden her." They hadn't asked if I was busy. They hadn't asked if I could afford it. They simply decided I wasn't worth including. I pushed the door open. "I'm not invited." 3 faces turned. Mom's smile tightened. Dad became very interested in his coffee. "Sweetheart," Mom started. "This trip is to celebrate Marcus's promotion. It's really more of a family." "It's not about you, Audrey," Vivian cut in, her voice honeyed. We just didn't think you'd be interested. You're always so independent. Independent. The word they used when they meant outsider. I was about to respond when I noticed movement behind me. Grandma Grace stood in the hallway, frail hand gripping her walker. Her eyes met mine, sharp, knowing, filled with something I couldn't read. She reached out and squeezed my hand. Said nothing, but in that silence, I felt seen. "Audrey, help your grandmother sit down," Mom instructed. "She shouldn't be standing so long." Before she disappeared around the corner, Grandma Grace looked back at me. Her lips moved silently. "Call Thomas Smith this week." I didn't understand, but I would. Soon I would understand everything. The dining room fell silent when Dad stood, tapping his wine glass. "Before we eat, I want to thank everyone for being here. Family is everything." 30 people nodded. I counted 30 witnesses to what came next. "This year, Patricia and I wanted to do something special for our daughters." He gestured toward Vivian. "Sweetheart, come here." Vivian glided forward. Mom handed her a thick envelope, beaming. "For you and Marcus and the kids. A 14-day Caribbean cruise. First class." The room erupted. Applause. Gasps. Vivian burst into pretty tears, the kind that photograph well. $13,000. I'd seen the itinerary on Mom's computer last month. Then Mom turned to me. The applause faded. The room grew quiet. "Audrey, honey, come here." I walked forward on wooden legs. She pressed a thin envelope into my hands. Inside was a single slip of paper. A Mega Millions lottery ticket, $2. "This is what suits your situation, dear." Mom's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Who knows, maybe luck will find you." Someone snickered. Marcus leaned back, smirking. "Luck's a long shot when you don't have brains to back it up." Laughter rippled through the room. Vivian giggled. "Oh, that's so cute, Mom. Maybe she'll win $5. I stared at the ticket. My face burned. But somewhere deeper, something shifted. Cracked. Broke free. I smiled. "Thank you, Mom. I'm sure this will be exactly what I deserve." Nobody noticed the edge in my voice. Then a voice cut through the laughter. "Gerald, Patricia, this is not right." Everyone turned. Grandma Grace stood at the edge of the room, trembling without her walker. Her voice was thin but carried. "You cannot treat Audrey this way. Not in front of everyone. Not ever." The silence that followed was heavy. Nobody expected the family matriarch to speak. Dad's jaw tightened. "Mother, please." I am not finished. But Mom was already moving, wrapping an arm around Grandma Grace. "You're tired, Mom. The doctor said you need rest. Come on." I watched helplessly as my mother guided my grandmother away. Grandma Grace looked back over her shoulder. Her eyes met. She nodded once, then her gaze shifted toward her old leather handbag on the armchair, the one nobody was ever allowed to touch. The door closed. Conversations resumed. The moment passed like it never happened. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the door. The lottery ticket was crumpled in my fist. $2. That's what they thought I was worth. But Grandma had said something. Thomas Smith, a lawyer. Why would my grandmother want me to call a lawyer? It was nearly midnight when I started cleaning up. Alone. As usual, most guests had left. Vivian and Marcus were planning their cruise wardrobe. I was gathering dishes from Dad's study when I saw them. Papers scattered across his desk. Bills with red overdue stamps. a letter from a collection agency, and beneath it all, a document that made my blood run cold. A loan agreement, signed by my father, co-signed by Marcus Pierce, $180,000. The interest rate was predatory, the kind you only see from people who operate in shadows. My hand shook as I flipped to the next page. Worse, collateral documents for Grandma Grace's house, the house she'd lived in for 50 years. And there was her signature, shaky, uneven, dated 6 months ago, the same month she fell and spent 2 weeks hospitalized on heavy pain medication. They made her sign when she wasn't herself. I photographed everything, page after page. I didn't have a plan, but I understood something now. The favoritism wasn't about love. It wasn't about Vivian being the golden child. I was the threat. The one who might ask questions, might notice things that didn't add up. They needed me, small, silent, and visible. That's why I got a $2 lottery ticket. I slipped out the back door. Photos saved. Mind racing. For the first time in my life, I wasn't going to stay quiet. 1 week later, I called Aunt Marlene. Audrey. She picked up on the second ring. Is Dad in serious debt? Long, heavy silence. How did you find out? She whispered. Papers at the house. A loan agreement with Marcus. Don't talk about this on the phone. Why not? Because there are things you don't know yet. About Marcus. About your father. Meet me Saturday. Coffee shop on Elm, 2 o'clock. She hesitated. And Audrey, don't trust anything Marcus tells you. He's not who he pretends to be. The line went dead. I sat in my apartment staring at the lottery ticket on my kitchen counter, crumpled and ignored since Thanksgiving. Like me, maybe it was time to check the numbers. I pulled up the Mega Millions app, entered the numbers, watched the loading wheel spin. First number matched. My heart skipped. Second matched. I stopped breathing. Third. Fourth. Fifth. All 6 I refreshed. Same result. Checked the official website. Same numbers. $100 million. I didn't scream, didn't cry, just sat there perfectly still for what felt like hours. Then I did the first thing that came to mind. Googled lottery winner, what to do first. And then I remembered Grandma Grace's words, Thomas Smith, time to make that call. I didn't tell anyone, not a single soul. For 3 days, I walked through my life like a ghost wearing human skin, went to work, answered emails, smiled at clients, all while carrying a 9-figure secret in my pocket. I didn't call my parents, didn't call Vivian, didn't post on social media or buy a sports car. Instead, I called Thomas Smith, Miss Crawford. His voice was warm but professional. Your grandmother said you might reach out. She told me to call. I don't know why. Perhaps you should come to my office. There are matters we need to discuss. A pause. About the lottery. You've won something. $100 million. Longer pause. Then we definitely need to talk. But Miss Crawford, the matters your grandmother wanted to discuss existed before any lottery. They're about her estate and her house. My stomach dropped. What about her house? Better if I show you in person. Can you come tomorrow? And Miss Crawford, don't mention this call to anyone in your family. Thomas Smith's office smelled like old books and expensive leather. He was early 60s, with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He slid a folder across his mahogany desk. 10 years ago, your grandmother established a trust fund in your name, $500,000. The room tilted. What? She was afraid your mother would find a way to take it. I opened the folder with trembling hands. Legal documents, Bank statements. All real. There's more, he said gently. The house. I saw the papers. My father used it as collateral. He nodded. The deed was signed 6 months ago, the day after your grandmother was hospitalized. She was barely coherent on heavy pain medication. That's fraud. Potentially. The signature is shaky. The timeline's suspicious. But proving coercion is difficult. He leaned forward. Your father owes Marcus $180,000. The house is collateral. If he defaults, Marcus gets the property. Everything clicked. The favoritism. The exclusion. The $2 ticket. I was never meant to find out. What can I do? With your resources now, we can challenge the deed, pay off the debt, protect your grandmother. I looked at the documents. $500,000 from Grandma Grace. $100 million from a crumpled lottery ticket. Let's protect her. Let me pause here. I know what you're thinking. But this isn't a revenge story. This is a story about truth. Tell me in the comments. Have you ever been treated unfairly by your own family? Hit that like button if you're with me. Now let me tell you what Aunt Marlene revealed. The coffee shop was nearly empty. Marlene looked older, tired. She slid into the booth, clutching her purse like a lifeline. He's not a consultant, she said. Not really. He lends money to desperate people with interest rates that would make a loan shark blush. She pulled out her phone. At your parents' anniversary party, Marcus left his phone unlocked on the counter. She showed me text messages between Marcus and someone named Diana. Explicit, romantic, damning. Can't wait until this is over. Once the house deal closes, I'm out. What about Vivian? She served her purpose. Divorce papers are already drafted. I stared at the screen. How long? 8 months. Diana is his assistant. My sister wasn't my enemy. She was another victim. She just didn't know it yet. I visited Grandma Grace at the nursing home. She looked smaller, frailer. But when I walked in, her eyes lit up with that familiar sharpness. I told her everything. The trust fund, the lottery, the ticket her own daughter gave me as a joke. Grandma Grace laughed. A sound like rustling paper. Karma, she whispered. I always believed in karma. I'm going to buy back your house. Whatever it takes. Her hand found my cheek. Don't become like them. Don't let the money change who you are. I promise. Some promises are easy to make. This one I intended to keep. 2 weeks later, the family gathered for a bon voyage dinner before the cruise. I was invited, not as a guest, as help. Audrey arranged the centerpieces. Audrey, handle the caterer. Audrey, tell Grandma's nurse we'll be gone 2 weeks. I did it all with a smile. Nobody knew about the lawyers working overtime. Nobody knew about the LLC I'd formed to claim my winnings anonymously. Nobody knew that in 3 weeks I'd be worth more than everyone in that room combined. Marcus caught my eye. Buy any more lottery tickets? Maybe you'll win $5 next time. The table laughed. I let them. You never know, I said pleasantly. Luck has a way of surprising people. 12 days. In 12 days, they'd be in the middle of the Caribbean. And I would be ready. The morning they left, I spent departure day in Thomas's office finalizing paperwork. After taxes, roughly $62 million, more than enough. My phone buzzed. Vivian, Dad's credit card got declined at the port. Can you transfer $500? The irony was almost too perfect. The first time in my life Vivian asked me for money, I knew why the card was declined. The debt was catching up. I don't have $500 to spare. Ask Marcus. He's the financial consultant. What mattered was that they were on that ship. All of them. trapped in the middle of the ocean for 2 weeks. Day 3 of the cruise, I posted a single Instagram story, me standing in front of Grandma Grace's house. Caption, home renovation project starting soon. The same day, local news ran a story, Mega Millions jackpot claimed. Winner anonymous. Ticket purchased at a convenience store 3 miles from the Crawford family home. The same store where Mom bought my $2 ticket. Aunt Marlene mentioned it in the family group chat. Someone from our area won $100 million, that little Quick Mart on Henderson Avenue. The chat exploded. Then a private message from Mom. Audrey, that lottery ticket I gave you for Thanksgiving, you still have it, right? I waited an hour. Let her sweat. Yes, Mom, I still have it. Why? Just curious. No reason. She never used emojis unless she was nervous. Then my phone started buzzing. Mom, Dad, Vivian, Marcus. I let them all go to voicemail. By evening, 43 missed calls. By midnight, 79. Messages ranged from casual to frantic. I turned my phone face down. Tomorrow I would call them, but on my terms. I typed one message in the family group chat. I'll video call tonight at 8 p.m. Everyone needs to be present, something important to share. Confirmations flooded in within seconds. They thought I was going to announce my winnings and hand them a check. They had no idea. At exactly 8, I clicked join. Their faces filled my screen, crowded in the ship's lounge. Tropical sunset behind them. Audrey! Mom's voice was sugary sweet. There's our girl. We miss you so much, Dad added. They'd never commented on my hair before. You look good, sis. Doing something different. I let them exhaust themselves. Then I spoke. I won $100 million. Silence. Then chaos. Everyone talking at once. When the chatter died, Marcus recovered first. You're going to need help managing that. Investments. Tax strategies. I have a lawyer, I interrupted, but a family member who understands finance. Marcus. Before we talk about money, there are things this family needs to know. I shared my screen. The loan agreement appeared. This is a loan between my father and Marcus. $180,000 at 32% interest. Dad went white. And this? I clicked to the next document. The deed to Grandma Grace's house. Signed over as collateral when she was hospitalized, barely conscious. Mom's mouth opened. No sound. This could be considered fraud. Audrey, this is family business. I'm not finished. I clicked again. Screenshots filled the screen. Marcus and Diana's messages, explicit, unmistakable. These are messages between Marcus and his assistant Diana. 8 months. Vivian's face crumpled. What? I read aloud. Once the house deal closes, I'm out. She served her purpose. Divorce papers are already drafted. Marcus stood. Those are fabricated. She's lying. Am I? I looked at Vivian. Ask him. Look at his face and ask him. Vivian turned. Marcus? He didn't answer. Grabbed his phone and walked out of frame. Here's what's going to happen, I said quietly. I'm paying off the loan. Clearing the lien on Grandma's house. The deed transfers back to her. None of you will have any claim to it. We're family, Dad pleaded. Family doesn't steal from 90-year-old women. I ended the call. The last thing I saw was chaos. Vivian crying. Mom shouting. Dad motionless, head in hands. The aftermath came fast. Diana went nuclear on every platform. Photos, receipts, hotel bookings, her own video statement. Vivian filed for divorce before the ship docked. Marcus's business associates reported predatory lending to the state attorney general, illegal in 3 states. Dad declared bankruptcy. The car shop gone. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not pity. Just peaceful emptiness. 2 weeks later, Thomas called. The deed challenge went through. The house transferred back to Grandma Grace with full legal protection. No Crawford could ever claim it again. Grandma Grace came home in April. When the attendant wheeled her up the ramp I'd installed, her eyes found the garden and she smiled. "It needs work," she said. "I'm going to fix it. That's my specialty." Mom called once, blamed me for everything. I listened, then said, "If you ever want a real conversation, one where you acknowledge what you did, not just what you lost, I'll be here." She hung up. We haven't spoken since, but Vivian wrote a letter. 2 pages on pale blue stationery. She said she was sorry, not for money, because she should have said it years ago. The divorce was final. She was starting over. We met for coffee. Awkward. Stilted. That we were trying. That was a start. 1 year later, my landscape architecture firm expanded. 2 new employees. A waiting list of clients. The lottery money sat mostly untouched in investments. I bought a modest house near Grandma. Adopted a rescue mutt named Clover. I started the Grace Mitchell Foundation, scholarships for young women in the arts from families who didn't understand them. Every acceptance letter felt like a small act of defiance. People always ask, "Did $100 million change your life?" The answer surprises them. No, not really. What changed my life was a moment, a single crystallizing moment when I realized I'd spent 32 years waiting for people to see my value. And they never would. Not because I wasn't valuable, because they weren't looking. The lottery ticket was a gift. Not because of what it was worth, but because of what it revealed. The people who should have loved me only cared when they thought I had something they wanted. If you're watching this and your family doesn't see you, you don't need $100 million to free yourself. You don't need luck. You don't need permission. You need one decision, to stop letting other people define your worth. The money gave me options, but the power was always mine. I just didn't know it until someone handed me a $2 lottery ticket with a smirk and thought they put me in my place. They put me in my place, all right, just not the one they expected. I'm Audrey Crawford, 33 years old, landscape architect, dog mom, granddaughter, philanthropist, and most importantly, a woman who finally chose herself. That's the real jackpot. If you've been through something similar, drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. Like and subscribe if this resonated, and check the description for more stories like this. Until next time, know your worth, and don't let anyone hand you less.